Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. The country for the last 3 weeks have been gripped by the story of blessed Gaza and his fellow war veterans. They've come out right and accused Mnangagwa of being corrupt and that he should resign. The more you listen to the man and his colleagues, the more you realize that this really is not about good governance for Zimbabwe. This is about power struggle that is going on within the ZANU-PF ruling party itself. And there's nothing to do with the ordinary people. Let's just listen to him and then we can comment on it.
Maprazi is Cherbarozi, Iriprazi. We will start number Ministry of Lands officials who will take all their land.
But
Mira, the out of Taboman. And we are going to take Chakosema Praza, Ashwangana Mnangagwa. So my ministers through Torah. Mark my words.
But these guys have guns. They have police.
My God. My God. You are Sakaimu, you think CIO, police, ne army, you know, my prison, Maneland, my soldier, Maneland, you must say, I want to land. Who convinced them? Could we are doing this for you? You know, who convinced them? Saruka Baraka is up, Gabagasama CIO. Agasama General ID. I am doing Uja. One day, but I got Temura. It's one of bombshell. Take never as well with the Tagadi, Tagam Temura. Yeah. You see, so we are warning Masuka. Those land, Yema veterans. I'm also affected. I've got my land. Yadaga Piwa Mavunga was the coordinator, Minister Mavunga. Right? Was the coordinator. Apana Umbo, Waboda Upindai Hugo. But because of corruption, G40, right? My farm was taken, right? Igapua Toti, and Tony Tinamnangagwa. We are not being protected. Mavunga Gata Minister of State, you know, the price Gwashu, Takamanya. Yes, no one can come Palakanonzi. That's the Denderikanotani. He's sitting on my papers. And I want to warn those ministry officials. You know, they know what I once did to the PEMSEC, Namini Saiko. Right? We'll go for them. But apart from going for them, we are going to take the land.
But Honorable, the vice president, the president is a war veteran. The vice president is a war veteran. The Army General PV Spanda is a war veteran. The Commissioner General of the Police is a war veteran.
Right. The daughter of Kubezere I was coming, General PV, na Commissioner General Matanga. Tunoza matino famba mozo. Right? Zwana chifunza. Gawachenda, wanamatanga gawa inde na PV vagarisa. Vachenda kupi. They are not going anywhere. They are not going anywhere. If the conditions of service are to be rewritten, they should be rewritten. Because we should protect the corporates. And we want to PV matanga to protect the revolution. Not anymore. Yes, no one I was with them about Vanamatanga, I was with them. I should go to why? A commissioner general of police. I don't talk like that. And you keep quiet. This is going to stop. Because whoever is going to attack PV, Nana Matanga, will deal now.
How?
Iwe. It's those we are terrorists, Chairman. Yes, we dealt in a Smith. How does what Smith are terrorists? You know?
But you're not as young anymore.
It's what around we are now more experienced. You know, we are more experienced. And for your information, dear Guti, Povo, Isuzu, we control 90% the Povo in Zimbabwe. Right? It's not a secret. Magazi wanapana mgabe pa. Yeah, it's at the master stadium. It's in support of Nagago. You know? But I don't know to an president. I was only saying, was Vagabuda Muno, Vagabuda Nemano 1. Vagabuda Nemzguru 1. Is Sara? Vagabuda to South Africa, Vagabanak. Any Marigeza Munora Savan, Kata Ziti. Right? But now we are wondering, Kutuanwa, where's our Poterizava? Varubagupi. It's not jeopardized. And I thought, General Chwenga Wakadewa Chito, once in a while, my comrades, I'm with another says, remember the Central Committee, now my MPs, Nechi, Garbutechi Posaka na Humana, Shimbaito review. Nothing like that. You know? You know, I think I done yes, you know. My helicopter in Matsoti. You know? Nijaza adema helicopter in Matsoti. Rosa, Abudaka na gopre kana wana ni helicopter.
Matsotsi happy one.
You are joining my helicopter. Wow.
Happy.
How much you want my helicopter? Matsoti, what do we want to manage? What do we want to go?
What Chanda? I know we can LT5. Is what you're talking about?
Are we on Akashana?
One take around the motor they've got businesses. Matenda is esa, aren't they?
Right. Why are you Panya 18 you? Do you know that? Where's my phone? I don't have phone pan.
We can stop it there. Ben, what do you think?
Good day to you and good day to our viewers. Thank you for joining us. You know, it was a very good question that was asked. What kind of leaders would the armed struggle throw up? You know, and this is what we are seeing and witnessing. You know, it's funny it's funny and it's sad at the same time because, you know, at no point during all interviews that were done by Comrade Geza had he spoken about the people and their struggle from day to day. It clearly is, like you said, a brutal fight for leadership, for recognition, you know, and support within ZANU-PF. I want to have my share. I deserve this, I deserve that. And yet the people have now gone to make a hero out of Comrade Kesa. Yes, he is a hero during, you know, he was a hero during the African, you know, the liberation struggle, sorry. But this is clearly non-democratic at all. This is, I will do this my way or it's either the highway. That's my take.
Yeah. I mean, all the war veterans want and they've got for themselves is the farms. Because is fighting that he has lost his farm. The whole thing about the liberation struggle was fight for land. And yet after 45 years of independence, turns out that those who were involved in the armed struggle itself got the land. Here is Mnangagwa standing in one of his farms, stretching to the horizon. And yet, the ordinary people, Povo, they still live in the communal areas where they do not even own the few square meters of land on which their grass, their mud hut is built. ZANU-PF has made it a policy that the rural people must be kept poor for its own political advantage. Geza is fighting because he has fallen out with the leadership, and all those who have fallen out with a particular faction have found themselves being victimized. And yet, when the war was started, it was supposedly for the good of not only those in positions of power and authority, but for everyone. And yet, this has not been realized. This is the tragedy of Zimbabwe.
I agree with you. I mean, if anybody was asked why they went through the liberation struggle, the first thing that would have come up would be to get land back to Zimbabweans. And unfortunately, they called it the fast track program, and it was done so haphazard, and it became meaningless. Like you say, the majority of Zimbabweans right now still do not have title deeds to the land. What did they fight for? So, it's unfortunate that, we find that ZANU-PF has decided to keep the people impoverished so that at least they do not spread their wings and fly or find independence where they can, stop relying on government handouts and government, assistance. This is why they are doing what they are doing. But to still come back to what, Comrade Geza's fight is all about, it's unfortunate it does not, include Zimbabweans, the general folk, you and I. It is clearly, his agenda that he wants, he wants a piece of the action within government. He wants recognition. He also wants, a piece of the loot, basically, because he also wants those tenders as well. That's what he's saying. So I'm still baffled to say, how then does he become a hero to us when clearly he said absolutely nothing concerning our welfare? How do we then idolize him and worship him when he's done absolutely nothing to secure our our future going forward as Zimbabweans as well? It's sad.
Truth of the matter is, we are caught up in this vicious cycle where those who fought in the liberation war have become the new oppressors. And unfortunately, many of us do not have the courage and the foresight to acknowledge that reality, much less to do something about it. Here is Margaret Dongo speaking on the same issue of why ZANU-PF is keeping the majority of the people poor and politically powerless.
They have wrong priorities, especially the current government. How can you go and build an airport which services a few people, and the majority are the elite and the so-called investors? Look at the rural. I made you come to interview me because I wanted you to have the experience of the roads that we are using. If we go today to our hospital there, you feel pity with that's a hospital in a rural area. If we go to our clinic, you feel pity. We have no piped water here. Do you know the reason why the rural people vote for ZANU-PF? One, they're intimidated. Two, the policy is that the rural people should remain poor and subservient to the government. They should remain poor because if they remain poor, they continue singing the song for their master. This is why these people have been impoverished. It's for a reason. Which is the moment, if you economic empower these people, they'll go out of hand. ZANU-PF will never have control over them.
And that is the reality that we have got to acknowledge and to deal with. ZANU-PF, those leaders, the liberation, the armed struggle throughout, have become the new masters. And they've become more tyrannical than the whites that they replaced. Like it or not, Zimbabweans, one of the most transformative things that could happen in Zimbabwe today is to give the rural people title deeds to even a few square meters, the yard, as people call it in the rural area, where their house is built. If they have title deeds to the yard, just the yard alone, they will be motivated to build a decent house. They will be motivated to plant fruit trees, dig a well, improve that piece of land, because they will know that even if they should want to live, they can sell it. At the present moment, the peasant can sell the mud hut, but who wants to own that piece of that hut when you know that the headman can decide that the yard, the land surrounding that piece of that house belongs to somebody else? You do not own that land. All you own is maybe the structure itself, the house. That is what has undermined the people. Economic empowerment and political empowerment. It's amazing that 45 years after independence, that has not been addressed. And here is a war veteran who only cares about his own farm. And Mnangagwa has since given them title deeds. And so they can start carving those farms up, dividing them up, and selling them at exorbitant prices. Been discovered that people like the late ZANU-PF dictator Mugabe's daughter, Bona Mugabe, has as many as 16 farms. 16 farms, whose land mass is the equivalent of Lesotho. And she will have title deeds to all those farms. And yet, the regime is refusing to give title deeds to the size of a football match, football ground, to the rural people. This is the kind of leader that our armed struggle throughout. And we are paying dearly for it. We are not going to get out of this mess without addressing this fundamental mismatch where those who were involved in the armed struggle have become nothing more than gods. They have got all the political power, all the economic power, and the rest of us have got to grovel. That is the tragedy of Zimbabwe. You want to give your closing remarks, Ben?
In closing, I would want to say history is in the habit of repeating itself. We had the 2017 coup, and we had signs of yet another. And still, you found that Zimbabweans were very excited and were very supportive. It's scary to think that we are not able to learn from our past. The 2017 coup gave us Mnangagwa. Mugabe was a dictator. Mnangagwa has proved the same. And here was somebody promising us Chiwenga, the exact same thing. And we were happy with it. And we went along with it. For me, this is scary that Zimbabweans are not willing to learn from their mistakes. And this just shows that we are bound to continue doing the same thing over and over again. It's really, really scary and sad at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben. The message is we should have never allowed the armed struggle to go ahead without first asking the question, what kind of leaders would an armed struggle throw up? We did not. In 1980, when Mugabe and company said that if they don't win the 1980 elections, the Bush War would continue. That should have set alarm bells ringing. What kind of leaders has the armed struggle thrown up? Now we have the answers. It is not too late to ask ourselves that question once again, and more significantly, to do something about it, to finally do something about it. Zimbabwe does not belong to only those who fought in the liberation war. It belongs to all of us. Every Zimbabwean should have a meaningful say in the governance of the country. That is not negotiable. To fight to replace one dictator with another is not the fight we want. We want to end the dictatorship. And that message must be said loudly and clearly to all those war veterans who think just because they were involved in the liberation war, they've become gods. We are not. There are many war veterans who fought in the Liberation War, who died and never came back. And their relatives are the millions now living in abject poverty. Let's get this clear. Zimbabwe belongs to all Zimbabweans and not only those who were involved in the armed struggle. Thank you very much. Those of you who were able to join us this evening. Hope you'll be able to do it again tomorrow, 6 p.m. UK time, 8 p.m. Zimbabwean time. Good night.